Hello, this is Bill Southam here, and I'm with my father's old car which he bought in 1922, and it's been in the family ever since then. Dad had to learn to drive. He was about 45 years old and had no contact whatsoever, as far as I know, with a car before that. One of his old farmer mates from Mundura, Mr. Tancock, went with Dad to pick up the car, and he obviously drove it home and in the process taught Dad to drive it. Probably because he'd never sat in a car even without worrying about driving it. We usually start it with the starter generator on the battery, but if necessary, of course, you can crank it. They've got a beautiful handle here, and they're quite easy to put it down and crank the engine, and the handle is always there just in case. You might notice there's no rear vision mirror, because in those days we weren't interested in who was behind. Other than that, the windscreen wiper is hand operated. You've got to have one hand up there if it's raining. Headlights are there to see them looking a bit yellow, but they don't shine much on the road. They never did. But I think it was handy to see whether the car was coming your way. At one time we had a couple of hand-reared cars for sale at the Snowdown market, so he let us take the back seat out. The seat cushions lift out anyway, and with plenty of wheat bags stacked around, we took the cars over to the market, then sold them and went home and had a thorough clean out with soap and water to get back to a good condition. About my last year at high school, we were having trouble with the old Dodge using too much oil, so I was in Adelaide boarding at school, so I arranged to pick up some piston rings, because I'd been messing around with cars in books for some years, but even by then. I came home and said, we want to put some piston rings in the car, and we told Dad what we had to do. We got to pull the engine apart. He was pretty worried about that, and I don't think he slept that night because we got all the nuts undone. He ended up a couple of days later. My brother George had no experience with cars either, except that he could drive them. But we got it together, and luckily those piston rings are still in there. We didn't do many long trips. We went to Crystal Brook Show a couple of times. Other than that, we'd go to Port Broughton on New Year's Day each year. The only time we ever saw the sea. It's usually parked in the shearing shed, so it has to come out twice a year, once for shearing and once for crutching. Luckily it usually starts.